What's up, Ada Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. My name's Fareed. As a part of today's video, we're diving into two brand new SIPs, which have just been proposed by a pretty big contributor here within the ecosystem. I'll let him introduce himself here in just a moment as it pertains to voting and governance. And so we're going to be diving into that. If you guys have missed some of the recent news here, we've got the Cardano Foundation weighing in as it pertains to Project Catalyst funding round number 13. And the community has been super outspoken about their participation in that. And in addition to that, because we've got governance kicking off, we need more participation. And a lot of people don't necessarily agree with one ADA equals one vote. So again, this brand new contributor here has put out two proposals, which we'll be diving into. Without any further ado, let me bring up today's guest, or Robert. Welcome up. How are you?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm fine.
Good to have you here on the channel. As you're probably aware, there's been a lot of discussions about governance on Cardano and just the voting system, right? And so you've taken the time to put together two amazing SIPs, which I'd love to dive into. And so as we get ready to lay down the foundation, maybe we start off with an introduction, and then we'll just jump straight into both of the SIPs there. So the floor is all yours, my friend. Go ahead.
Thank you. So my name is Robert Ledwig. I studied, I'm from Germany, Berlin. I studied computer and systems engineering back then. And initially, I actually worked in embedded field development and several automotive companies and also other different companies in industry fields. So, I basically joined the cryptocurrency space back then in 2017, directly after the hype, and got hyped. So and I also, since I'm a software engineer, I'm also very interested in the technology behind the different projects. So and especially Cardano caught my attention. So since it's a research project, a science project, and they've written more than 200 papers, and so I did quite deeply some comparison between all the projects, pros and cons, and basically Cardano caught really my attention. And especially since we are also entering now the governance phase of Cardano. So people are basically aware of this kind of imbalance between of the voting power distribution among all participants or the ADA shareholders. So how can we more fairly distribute the voting power among the community members? So how can we solve this or improve this? So therefore, I've made quite some research, or I collected quite some ideas, and I created basically two draft proposal papers. And let me quickly give you an overview. What are these about, or what the benefits are of these two papers? So how can you basically distribute the voting power, turn from a linear one ADA, one vote system more to a more distributed system also. The idea is actually you can either do this in a more active way or in a more passive way. So the first proposal idea I want to talk about is regeneration proposal. So the idea, the issue is actually during ADA voting, you don't have any kind of costs. So you can actually take your ADA and apply reoccurring votes. So you can actually have frequent votes in a certain period of time without getting punished also. This means you can actually, you don't get diminished by power also. So the idea is to introduce some kind of cost component into the system. For example, you can take a regeneration factor or some kind of cooldown period. So after you've used your vote, you would have some cooldown period until you can use your voting power again. So, and this basically would incentivize for more thoughtful decisions before you actually vote, since you have a limited resource or over time. And this would actually more distributes voting power in a better way. So, and these cooldown periods, you could actually also vary depending on the urgency of the proposal itself. So meaning once you have a more urgent proposal, you can actually say you have a shorter cooldown period, so you can use your ADA more frequently or in a shorter period of time again for the next vote. And yeah, so you would have a dynamic approach, and also the advantage of a transparent systems such as Cardano using the UTXO system would be that you can also prevent manipulation. So you can track the UTXO, the history, and prevent manipulation. So yeah, and also and all thoughts and ideas went into this proposal draft. And the goal is actually to get the attention of the Cardano developers who are deep into the system. And yes, now let me quickly introduce you the second proposal idea. So the second one is actually a more static approach and not a dynamic approach like the first one. After you've used the vote with the cooldown period, the second one would be actually the goal is actually to more rebalance the existing voting power distribution at a given system state. It's like we're introducing for this three kind of components. Like for instance, the base weight per wallet. So you got a wallet, and this wallet, and each wallet would have a base weight. So for instance, 40%. These numbers are just example, which could later on be voted during the governance process, so they could be changed by the community. So and the second, and the base weight would actually mean that it would incentivize for smaller holders to join the system or to participate in the voting system, since they would gain relatively more weight according to the, or relative to the network average voting power. So, and the second component would be actually the ADA holdings weight, of course, as before, but with the difference that we have, for instance, for example, just a 60% voting weight. And the other aspect would be that we are considering a logarithmic scaling factor in this case. So it just would mean the more ADA you hold, the slower your ADA, your voting power will increase over time. This means actually you have kind of diminishing a curve over time, or a voting power curve according to that. And both factors or both components will be summed up together and will be multiplied with a time multiplier. And the time multiplier is necessary in order to prevent manipulation. So you could make the case that you split your wallet and acquire more of the base weight, and the time multiplier would actually prevent this. So this would mean each new wallet would start from scratch, so with a time multiplier being 0, having 0 voting power. And for instance, once you acquired already voting power over time, you have some state of the time multiplier. For instance, it's going up to 2 or so. And now you want to split your wallet into another one. And then the goal is actually to make sure that the overall total voting power after the split remains the same as before. So these are the kinds of edge cases we need to consider here in order to prevent manipulation of the system. So the idea is based on the UTXO system that you can, after the split, you can basically inherit the previous state of the parameters. So you can actually prove, you can verify via the history that you've made the split and that you had certain voting power before. And after the split, the voting power basically remains the same. So you would inherit the time multiplier, and the base weight per wallet factor would actually proportionally get distributed among both wallets after the split, so fairly. So in total, you would have a zero-sum game, and you would keep your initial voting power you had before, also after the split. So yeah, this is the basic idea of these concepts. Yeah.
Very impressive, first and foremost, Robert. I'm going to leave the links to that down below for the viewers here. I mentioned this in one of my recent updates, and I've gotten a couple of comments in support of what you've already put out there. I think that this is what we've needed for a while, right? Everybody has just been stuck on one ADA equals one vote.
Yeah.
And there's always the talks about DIDs and integrations. But what I love about what you've just mentioned there is the fact that even if people do want to split wallets, and if we have whales involved, this particular voting system takes that into account, right? So even if you were to split your wallets, you take a big hit when it comes to the time perspective, right? And then vice versa, like if you maybe just keep one gigantic wallet, as you've mentioned, you've sort of got like that logarithmic curve to where your ADA holdings begin to have less and less of an impact as a bigger entity. Now, one thing that I have to ask here is about the testing of this, right? Has there been a sandbox environment where you've been able to test to see how this could actually work? Because again, as you can imagine, once something like this, if it does pass, comes about, people are still going to try to figure out a way around it, right? So what testing has been done to actually verify that this could potentially be a valid solution?
Yeah, sure. At its given state, these are just basically draft proposals. So I've started to create some a few days ago. So this is kind of fresh, but let me quickly explain how you could proceed with this. So you would actually, in a software development system, you have to make sure that your code you write is sustainable or it's actually secure. So you have to cover many edge cases. And how do you do this? You're writing tons of unit tests. So you have to make sure that all edge cases are covered, all possibilities are covered. And yeah, this would be, I don't know, this would be actually done by the Cardano developers. So yeah, but it's this, I think at this given state, the goal is actually to firstly discuss these proposals and get attention of the developers who are more deeply into the system. So yeah, but so by this you could actually cover this. Yeah.
Nicely stated. Now,
Yeah.
I'm just sharing some of the pieces here that you have covered within the proposal, which again is super lengthy and very detailed. I've got to give you a lot of credit because I'm sure that's taking a lot of time for you to put that together.
Yeah.
But security, again, I think is going to be paramount here. Now, maybe just backing up a little bit, this is sort of all encompassing. How long would it take to get something like this actually implemented? Let's say that the community votes in favor of adopting this three-factor system. How
Yeah.
quickly could we see something like this actually come on the main net?
I think, to be honest, really fast, since we're heading now into AI agents area. So the implementation part wouldn't be, I think, that such of an issue. So it's more, I think, in a decentralized system like Cardano, it's more of the challenge to get the community on board, to get the attention of the community first, and to start some discussion about this. But the implementation part, I mean, Cardano has quite some software layers and quite a complex system, but every piece has its role, and yeah, the implementation part can be secured by many unit tests, and should AI agents or AIs, LLMs can help a lot with this. So yeah, and also as I mentioned, since the whole history is actually traceable via the UTXOs and inheriting from Bitcoin's securities, so we can actually make sure that all the edge cases can be covered and secured, and everything is basically secure from getting manipulated also. Yeah.
And as a follow-up, I know that, there's obviously voting that takes place in Catalyst, and then there's also voting that's going to be taking place in governance. Can both of these SIPs be used for both, right? Or is this solely just for governance? Because again, I know Catalyst has been a pretty big hot topic here as well. So I'd love to just hear about where in what cases can this three-factor voting system plus the generative approach be used?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think about in order to answer this, we would need to have some common thoughts, I think. So we needed to discuss this first. Also, my idea was actually it's not a black or white thing. You could also make the case that you actually combine both proposals into a merged one to gain the advantages of both proposals each. So of the more active one, the regeneration proposal, and also more the static one. So
generally speaking, what comes next for you, right? So you've now got the SIPs out there. You're still obviously updating them. You're working on them in real time. What would you like to see next in terms of, maybe support from the community, support from developers? What are you aiming to do at this point to get the word out there?
yeah, I mean, the next step, as I said, would be actually to start some discussion about this. I mean, without getting attention of the community, it wouldn't make any sense to further work on these proposals. So we need to see if there's any urgency for this. So it would be much appreciated if everyone. You can also, just in case you're not really deep into these systems or edge cases whatsoever, you can also use your AI of your favor and verify all information you basically find on the internet. So it's just a matter of a few clicks, and you can also, by this, you can bring on your own thoughts to improve things. So we can get through things much quicker as before. So we are living in an age now which can be really, really fast. So in order to change things. And the good aspect is, since I also followed this kind of drama, whatsoever, this discussion with the Cardano Foundation recently. So the good thing is that mathematically, the community has way more voting power than single legacy entities with large wallets holding in total. So if the community wants to get these things through, we can do this. This wouldn't be an issue, yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that
it's just a question of demand or necessity, yeah.
I mean, I think this is the perfect time. You've got to strike while the iron is hot, because again, it's a topic that everybody is currently talking about. Yeah. And when I saw the amount of time and effort that you've put into this, I was very, very impressed. And again, the least that I could have done was at least share that here with my community. And so as we get ready to wind things down here, Robert, are there any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with the community? If maybe somebody wants to contribute to this, right? Somebody wants to reach out, maybe lend a hand or whatever the case is, how can they do that? And again, just give us any sort of parting words or thoughts that you want to share here as it pertains to either of the two SIPs that you now have sort of in this, what is the word that I'm looking for here at this very early stage? What would you like to share with the community if they want to help you to really make this come to life?
Yeah. So basically, you need to verify all this information I gave you. Click on the links of the proposals, read through them, and verify the information. And and try to start the discussion. So this is very important. Without discussion, we can't improve things, and we won't get any noise for this. We need to get some noise and attention, and then we start the discussion, and then eventually we can get them through and implement this. So, and this process can be very fast, but it depends on the different sequential aspects. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, no, Robert, you mentioned that you're not necessarily someone who's done a lot of interviews, but you are definitely a natural here on camera. I want to thank you, right, for jumping in here. No, it's my pleasure to host. It's again, it's really eye-opening to see how many people contribute to Cardano in a selfless manner. You're taking the time out of your day to put all this stuff together, and it's not just to benefit you, it's to benefit the entire Cardano community. So I just want to say thank you. And I'm sure that you're going to see other viewers also showing support for what you've done. And even if it's not this particular SIP, right, that makes it through, I think there's a lot of really good information here that the community can use, right, to ultimately come to some sort of conclusion where we're able to sort of shift away from one ADA equals one vote. Because again, I think that that's worked for a long time, but I don't think that that's going to be the answer for the future. So that'll do it here for today's video. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm joined here by Robert. Again, I'll leave the links to both of his SIPs down below. Make sure to go ahead and check them out. Show some support here. And even if you're not a technical person, share this with anybody that you know that is more technical within the Cardano space here. Again, this is a wonderful idea. And this is really just sort of, the very beginning of, I think, a longer conversation that we need to have here as the Cardano community.
Definitely.
So as always, if you guys have found this to be helpful, I definitely have. Make sure to smash that thumbs up for Robert and I. If it's your first time stopping by Dapp Central and you want more content like this, breaking down everything going on here in Cardano, consider subscribing to the channel. And last but not least, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, right, for Robert and myself, leave a comment down below. I'll be monitoring those and making sure to share those with Robert here over the course of the next couple of days. That said, and as always, we'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody. Cheers.